What's going on, everybody? So, just in case you don't know who Richard Dawkins is, he is one of the most, if not the most, well-known atheists in the entire world, okay? And he was just interviewed the other day, and he had some really interesting input he had on some religious questions. And so we're gonna check this video out, and I'll stop it every once in a while to give my own little input on it, but let's check it out.
Professor Dawkins, it's very good to have you join us to discuss whether it matters that Christianity is playing a diminishing role in national life. Welcome to LBC.
Thank you.
And what would be your Easter message? I mean, I've said a few things. What would you tell the nation?
Well, I must say I was slightly horrified to hear that Ramadan is being promoted instead.
Just in case anybody's wondering, Ramadan is something that Muslims celebrate.
I do think that we are culturally a Christian country. I call myself a cultural Christian. I'm not a believer, but there's a distinction between being a believing Christian and being a cultural Christian. And so, I love hymns and Christmas carols, and I sort of feel at home in the Christian ethos. I feel that we are a Christian country in that sense.
I'm sorry. Like that. If that's not amusing, if that's not just the most entertaining thing to hear, that's a cultural Christian. I really enjoy the teachings that Christ gave. Things like love your enemy, love those who persecute you. If you even look upon a woman with lust, you've committed adultery with her in your heart. These things. Don't lie, don't steal. Respect your mother and father. Don't create your own image of God. If you have even hated somebody, you have committed murder. Don't covet. Don't be jealous, and don't love the things of this world. What an amazing, unbelievably, incredibly amazing moral guideline for us. Things like this.
It's true that statistically the number of people who actually believe in Christianity is going down. And I'm happy with that, but I would not be happy if, for example, we lost all our cathedrals and our beautiful parish churches. So I count myself a cultural Christian. I think it would matter if we substituted any alternative religion. That would be truly dreadful.
He said for another religion to come in and take its place would be truly dreadful. That's interesting for an atheist to say. Why would it be truly dreadful? It's just another group of people, another society coming to tell us what's right and what's wrong. Maybe he'll tell us why. Let's keep watching.
Which brings me to my supplementary point, which is that, as we know, church attendance is plummeting, but the erection of mosques across Europe, I think 6,000 are under construction, and there are many more, are being planned. So do you regard that as a problem? Do you think that matters?
Yes, I do really. I mean, I might just choose my words carefully. I mean, if I had to choose between Christianity and Islam, I choose Christianity every single time. I mean, it seems to me to be a fundamentally decent religion, in a way that I think Islam is not.
I think you're going to have to explain why you say that, Professor Dawkins. Why is Islam fundamentally not decent like Christianity?
Yes, I mean, the way women are treated. I mean, Christianity is not great about that. It's had its problems with female vicars and female bishops and things. But there's an active hostility to women, which is promoted, I think, by the holy books of Islam. I'm not talking about individual Muslims, who, of course, are quite different. But the doctrines of Islam, the Hadith and the Quran, is fundamentally hostile to women, hostile to gays, and I find that I like to live in a culturally Christian country, although I do not believe a single word of the Christian faith.
Hostile towards women and homosexuals. What does the Bible say about women? The Bible says to love your wife as Christ loved the church. Love your wife as Christ loved us. That's what it teaches about women. That's how it says to respect women. What does the Quran say about women? It says that it's okay for a 53-year-old man to marry a 7-year-old child and have a sexual relationship with that child. It says that when we go to heaven, we get 42 virgins. That's the least of our rewards in heaven. Islam teaches that you are allowed to rape the wives of the enemies of Islam. That's okay. That's what it says about their women. I find it really interesting when homosexuals defend Islam. Do you have any clue what Islam does to homosexuals?
Just for balance, should we say something about fundamentalist Christians who, we can see abortion rights, reproductive rights being rolled back in Republican states in America. So Christianity is still not without its problems when it comes to women and their rights.
Well, you didn't ask me about Christianity in America. That's a different matter entirely.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm sure we got some fundamentalist Christians here too, but not as public.
Well, insofar as fundamentalist Christians oppose evolution and think that the world was created 6,000 years ago, I mean, that is pernicious nonsense, of course.
Right. Well, so I think I see where you come from. I like the phrase, you're a cultural Christian. I think I'm a bit more than a cultural Christian, although, it does, my belief waxes and wanes. Would it be a good thing or a bad thing if we became a less Christian country? And just on the foundation of this nation, with the king being the head of church and state, do you think it provides a solid foundation that we would lose something if, let's say, there was a Muslim majority?
Well, yes. I think the king, when he was Prince of Wales, was actually rather sympathetic towards Islam, and one of the problems I felt. No, I think it would be a terrible thing. And insofar as Christianity can be seen as a bulwark against Islam, I think it's a very good thing. I mean, in Africa, for example, where you have missionaries of both faiths operating, I'm on Team Christian side as far as that's concerned.
It's interesting because I sort of thought that you would be more of a Hitchinite, God is not great advocate. But it's interesting to me that you see the value and the force for good of the United Kingdom having a Christian foundation.
Yes, but I must emphasize that I think that the things that Christians believe are actually nonsense. I mean, I think that when you say you waver, I wanted to ask you, do you actually believe that Jesus had a virgin for a mother? Do you actually believe he rose from the dead? I suspect
well, weirdly,
you probably don't.
Since you ask, Richard, if I may, because I was at New College when you were I think
Yeah.
Are you still a don at New College? Yes.
Well, I'm retired.
You're retired,
yes,
but you don't look anyway. Weirdly, I was just 3 weeks ago at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, where the Christians believe that Christ was crucified, or there was the tomb, and the Gethsemane was just there, and Golgotha was there. And I have to admit that there is a real force. I mean, it feels like the fulcrum of three world religions. It really does. And Christianity is palpable there. The place pulses with Christianity. I don't know whether it made me believe the Bible anymore, but I certainly felt that Jesus was a historical figure. Yes, I did believe that.
Well,
am I wrong to think that?
No. I mean, that's quite different. But do you believe that his mother was a virgin?
Well, I mean, maybe that was a mistranslation of. Well, that's biologically impossible, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yes.
This is always the problem. Picking and choosing what we want to believe and what we want to disprove. We become geniuses when it comes to asking questions about God and why did you do this? Why did he do that? Why did he say this? I don't agree with that or this or that. We become geniuses. We can ask all the questions and get real creative. But when it comes to evolution and questioning how everything came from nothing, very minimal questions. Oh, life created itself from matter? No big deal. Sounds legit. Science sounds like they got that under control. These people have all the answers and I don't really need to question any of them. But when it comes to God, how many animals were on the ark? Did Moses really part the sea? You believe that Jesus walked on water? Jesus died for my sins? Yes. Time, space, and matter had a beginning. And God is outside of that. God is outside of time, space, and matter.
Well, I mean, I used to make a joke that most second children are virgin births because you can. Anyway, we don't want to go into that.
Yes.
But yes, you know what I'm saying. Were you pleased that Rishi Sunak talked about Christian values in his? He said Christian values are British values in his Easter message. You seem to be on the same page.
Yes, I didn't hear that, but
that's what he said.
Yes, I suppose so. But I don't want to be misunderstood. I mean, I do think it's nonsense. But the Christian belief. I mean, today is Easter, and of course I don't believe that Jesus rose from the dead, and I don't believe you do either.
That Jesus rose from the dead. Well, I mean, you're really putting me on the spot. I would like to believe he did. Yes, I mentioned the resurrection.
The supernatural is what holds you back from believing. Mary had a virgin birth. Jesus Christ died, and 3 days later he was risen. He claimed to be God. He claimed to be the creator of all things. I hear atheists say, well, we've never seen that before, not even one single time. That's the point. If it had happened before, if we've seen people raised from the dead 3 days after they die, this wouldn't be that special. It wouldn't be that amazing, would it? He did something that we have never, ever seen before. That's the point. That's why we trust him. We trust the 500 people and their accounts of seeing Jesus Christ risen, seeing him after he was crucified and alive and well, walking around. That's what they died for. They died for what they saw. Nobody will die for what they know is a lie. They will die for a cult because they believe it's the truth. They will never die for believing in a lie, what they know to be a lie. These 500 people saw him with their own eyes. That's why they died. They said, if you go around claiming that, we're going to kill you. And they said, we have to say what we saw. We saw this. This is why we believe. That's what happened. That's who we're putting our trust in. We are putting our trust in Christ, who was seen, raised from the dead 3 days later.
Just one thing. Does it matter? I'm going to ask you again, if Christianity is a minority religion in this country?
I think it matters from a cultural point of view.
That's a very clear answer from you, Richard Dawkins. Thank you so much for joining us from, I look like New College, but Richard Dawkins, Prof. Dawkins, is the renowned evolutionary biologist, author of The God Delusion.